What's going on, PhinManiacs listeners? September 9th, 2021, and we are live. This is going to be the first episode of the PhinManiacs preview where we will be pretty much touching on each Miami Dolphins game every single week. But before we get going, I'm going to welcome in the newest member to the PhinManiacs family. And, it's actually really crazy because him and I went to elementary school dating all the way back to 2006, 2007. Matthew Morin, ladies and gentlemen. Matthew, how's everything going? And it's really good to see you years later.
Likewise, man. Everything's going great. I'm happy to be here, starting with PhinManiacs and talking some football with you, man, some Dolphins football. Really excited. Everything's great.
So, September 9th, 2021 is obviously, really for me, it feels like the first day of Christmas, right? Because the Dolphins, they don't begin the season tonight, but we have two teams who do, and that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, and the Dallas Cowboys, who welcome back star-studded quarterback Dak Prescott. What are your keys going into that game? Because really you see two offenses who can really put up points. Who do you really see winning that football game? And, what do you hope to see in the return of Dak Prescott as well?
Well, I think the key for Dak for sure is coming off an injury like that, just get rid of the cobwebs, getting rid of the nerves. I know that's a bit tough going into a game like that against a defense like that. It's going to be a bit tough. I'd say the key for Dallas, number one, start fast. They have to start fast if they want a chance in this game. And I'd say I'll go Tampa Bay, probably like a 30-19 type of score, something like that.
Okay, so you have the Buccaneers winning by double digits to start the year. Pretty much really the key really I want to see how a team coming off a Super Bowl win really comes back, a few months later to see if are they really on that same page, because remember, Tampa Bay, they have all 11 guys returning on the offensive side and they have all 11 guys returning on the defensive
all
side.
22. Yeah.
If there's really not 22. One, there's not one player who left. So this probably is the team to beat come this upcoming year. But let's not really talk about that, because we have Dolphins football starting this upcoming Sunday. The Dolphins travel to Gillette Stadium. And, really the storyline in this game, it's Tua Tagovailoa entering his second year under center. But for me, really, it's the Alabama quarterbacks, right? You have Matt Jones, who me and you probably thought we weren't going to be seeing Matt Jones. We probably thought we were going to be seeing Mr. Cam Newton. But what are your, Matt, what are your keys going into this one? Really, you have Tua Tagovailoa and you have Matt Jones, two guys that know each other really, really well.
Yeah, I was a bit thrown off by the whole Cam release. I think everybody was. So I was expecting Cam for sure, but they want to roll with Mac. They're more comfortable with him. They were probably going to give him the reins anyway. So, bring it. I would give the advantage to Miami, seeing as, Tua started 9 games. Mac, this is his first start. Granted, he's at home, but he's going against a defense that gave rookie quarterbacks and veteran quarterbacks a lot of trouble. So you can ask Justin Herbert about that. You can ask plenty of quarterbacks about that. Miami, on the defensive side of the ball, we don't play anymore. So, I'm looking forward to a real good chess match for sure.
So, so many eyes are obviously going to be focused on rookie wideout Jalen Waddle, who was selected 6th overall this past April. But really, this is going to be a very defensive type football game. And really for the Miami Dolphins, Xavier Howard is probably one name to watch, because he knows that he's going up against a rookie quarterback. How many interceptions? I mean, are we talking about possibly a multi-interception game here?
We'll see. I mean, if we could get one early and get him a bit rattled, that'd be great. But Xavier's there to make plays. He could do everything. He could play press. He could play man. And he's a playmaker. 10 picks last year. I mean, he basically contributed literally for half of the turnovers we got last year. I believe we got 20, right?
Correct.
So that's you can't ask for anything more out of a defensive back. He's the complete package for sure.
Yeah, and it was really interesting to see, because all throughout training camp, he obviously wanted more money, right? I mean, his play really did tell that. He did lead the NFL in interceptions, and really a COVID-like year. And the Dolphins, they finally said, here's your money. And each dollar that he earns, it's obviously well earned, because you look at his stats from even when Adam Gase was here in 2018, and he was just an interception type football machine. So really going up against a Bill Belichick-like squad, it's going to be really tested to see. But what are your expectations for Jalen Waddle? You know, a guy obviously selected 6th overall. He had great connection with Tua Tagovailoa in college. Do you somehow see, you know, this reunion's going to be it's going to go very well for Miami, or are you kind of, you know, worried because Waddle's coming off of a major injury, and now you're talking about the collegiate level where things are probably a little bit slower now that you get to the big boy league, and that's the National Football League. So what do you see that? You know, how do you really see those dominoes falling?
You know, with Jalen, you know, he looked pretty good in the preseason. The ankle looks fine. Reports, you know, there were some journalists saying that he's limping a little bit, but some are saying he looks great. He's explosive. So I think this first game is going to shed a lot of light on that more than the preseason. But yeah, I mean, the college game, without a doubt, is slower than the NFL. So he's got to get used to a corner pressing him right away at the line of scrimmage, being very physical. He comes from the SEC, so you know, it's not going to be a total shock. But I think I expect him to do big things. I think he possesses the ability clearly to make something out of nothing, and he can take a play that's designed to only get you 5 to 10, and he could bust it out and make it 60, 70 and a touchdown. He's just that type of player. He's electric, and I'm looking forward to see that reunion between him and Tua for sure.
So really, you know, and I'm glad that you and I are talking about Jalen Waddle, because really Miami's wideout room in general, it's just so crowded with playmaking ability on all cylinders, right? I mean, we're talking about Albert Wilson, who opted out last year, Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, who won't be active for this game. He is still serving that 1-game suspension. Even really Preston Williams, who, you know, and Jason and I and Usama even, we really talked about it on previous shows that it's not that he's not a good football player. You can just somehow say that his injury history is just so unlucky. I mean, this is a football player that we're talking about. He got injured pretty much celebrating a touchdown score, and that's something you just really simply do not see, you know? So really when you look at this wideout room, could this honestly maybe be a top 3, top even 2 unit in the National Football League?
I think they possess the talent to get there. We got to see how they work on the field together. Godsey and Stutesfield, I'm sure they know what they're doing, hopefully. You got to get them in space and put them in winning situations. So man coverage as much as possible. Make it a track meet. We got the speed for it. So, you know, it takes the pressure off Devontae to, you know, kind of be the most talented guy in the room. Now he can kind of just worry about being that big, tall receiver, going up and getting it. And I think it's the signings that they made, the moves that they made, obviously dropping Waddle. I think they made all the right moves as far as getting weapons for Tua and bringing just more speed to the room, more playmaking, more separation ability in general.
I'm glad you also said, you know, weapons for Tua, because those are 3 words that many Dolphins fans were hoping that would happen last year. But you look towards the end of the 2020 year, and you had guys like Matt Collins, who was really Tua's primary weapon. But now we're going into really a full healthy season with guys like Parker, like Jalen Waddle, like Will Fuller. If these guys stay healthy, I think Miami's a playoff team this year, no?
I would agree. I think a lot of it has to do with the running game too. That's going to set up opportunities for those guys. So Fuller and Waddle and all those new additions, they're going to need a steady running game from Ahmed and Gaskin. So it's all got to come together, and obviously that all falls into the offensive line. As well. So it's got to be consistency.
The offensive line, you know, I knew at some point we were going to be talking about this offensive line, because this offensive line, it's good at times, but when it's not good, it's scary, because you have a quarterback who is coming off of a major hip injury. I mean, even though he is fully healed, he's still coming off of an injury that happened not even 3 years ago. So really, this is a very developmental offensive line that still obviously needs work. And it is going to be really interesting to see against New England's front 7 how this offensive line is able to communicate well, because really it's right now, as me and you speak, it seems like Michael Dieter is the starting center. And really for him and Tua Tagovailoa to build that strong connection, that's really going to be key going down the stretch and when games even matter more.
Yeah, I would agree. It's pivotal. I think this team, their chances of making the playoffs, it's predicated on how that unit plays. So, like I said, the additions on the offense, as far as the wide receiver room, have been great. But I hate to say it as a fan, but I'm going to put my thinking cap on, even though it's a Dolphins hat. That offensive line has to play well. It has to. And if it doesn't, it's not going to be Tua's fault, but we know how the media is and we know how this fan base is. If it doesn't go the way people want it to go, it's going to be on him. So that offensive line has to show up, and they have to play with a chip on their shoulder, even though that they're not going to be, better than a lot of defensive lines. They're not going to have the advantage, but they got to show up with that attitude and do the best that they can to protect this kid.
And also, keep in mind that the Dolphins do open up the season. The first 2 games really the same as last year because they opened up in New England week 1. And Miami's first home opponent was Buffalo. So 2 divisional games, 2 AFC East opponents, and 2 conference games. I mean, it would be absolutely ideal if the Dolphins opened the season 2-0. But now really, on the defensive line, we see guys like Christian Wilkins, Raekwon Davis, really, who's Miami's nose tackle. But they love to, they love to differentiate and use different packages. So when you look at a guy like Jalen Phillips, who, you know him very well, coming from the AU, are you really – I mean, how much do you think Jalen Phillips will be used in this Miami's defensive package? Because we know Brian Flores and even defensive coordinator Josh Boyer, we know they're going to be blitzing a lot, especially when they know that their first quarterback they're facing is in his first year in the National Football League.
I can guarantee you they will send Jalen Phillips at max a couple times. But as far as the overall outlook on Jalen, he's an athletic freak. The guy's 6'6" and runs a 4.6 40. That's just unheard of. And at Miami, he ran he only played defensive end, but he clearly, had the capability to play a little bit of outside linebacker, cover the hashes. And he's a very athletic dude. So I think Flores looks at a guy like that and is like, I can use this guy in multiple spots. So it's an advantage. And he's not a perfect player. Every draft pick needs development, right? But I think Flores will find a way to use him effectively for sure.
Yeah, I mean, really, coming from the U, we always talk about, Alabama guys, Notre Dame guys, Ohio State guys. Miami did really draft. You take a look at their 2021 draft picks, and a lot of them came from different schools. It wasn't really just one specific school. You had Jalen Phillips, who came from the U. You had Javon Holland, he's really another interesting guy that we're all excited for because it's a rookie coming in the National Football League. And really, I mean, the free safety spot, Minkah Fitzpatrick was here, and we saw the work that he was able to do before the Dolphins elected to part ways and send him to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So really, any rookie in my eyes is really going to be fun to watch. But obviously, you got to talk about Jalen Waddle, and you got to talk about Jalen Phillips. But we're going to have fun here. So the current spread right now, they have New England. I believe it's at -4.5. Do you see, the Dolphins covering that spread, or do you even see them winning outright this upcoming Sunday? How do you see that falling out?
I think both of what you just said are perfectly possible. I think it could be a really close game. I think Miami could have the lead in the third quarter and run away with it.
Okay.
I just don't see New England's offense meshing and having that chemistry right away. I think Mac is going to come out and be a little shaky at first, and we'll see how he adjusts.
Yeah, I mean, really, a divisional opponent, just like we said, and always it's a Bill Belichick coach team, which is always really, really difficult. So what are your keys, this year for Tua, a full year 2, everybody loves to talk about Joe Burrow. Everyone loves to talk about Justin Herbert. But do you believe that, Tua Tagovailoa could be on the possible hot seat if he doesn't perform well and up to expectations?
Well, naturally, as a franchise and as a fan base, you're going to look at that, right? If he doesn't do what we expected him to do when we drafted him at 5. Coming out of Alabama, Tua was always looked at as an accurate passer, a supremely accurate passer, a guy that could go through his progressions, break down a defense, and make the right decision every single time. He wasn't too flashy with his legs, but he could get it done. He could go score for you on his legs. And obviously his arm spoke for itself. And I think that first year, he wasn't himself as an athlete fully. And I think people kind of got carried away with, oh, he might not have the arm strength, he might not have this, might not have that. I fully believe his trainer, by the way, who said that he was only 60% healthy. A hip injury of that magnitude is no joke. Some people don't walk again after that. So you throw him into that kind of situation with no OTAs, no training camp, and you're going to go play big boy football. It's an adjustment. So I think we can expect to see a different quarterback like we saw in the preseason. I think the confidence is up, and we'll see what we got. We'll know pretty soon what we have.
And you take a look really at Miami's offense as a whole. There's going to be it's going to be a fun offense to watch because you're going to see probably a lot of slant routes. You're going to see a lot of deep balls. It felt like Tua was so he was so wrapped around Chan Gailey's finger last year that whatever Chan Gailey said, it was just constant bubble screen, right. Simple 5 to 9 yard routes. Do we expect to see Tua throw the deep ball a lot more this year? Now he's got co-offensive coordinators.
I would say so. Yeah, naturally he's got faster targets, so that creates more opportunities for big separation. I think Will Fuller downfield, Albert Wilson downfield, Jalen Waddle downfield. Those are guys that you would want in those situations. No disrespect to Isaiah Ford and Mac Hollins, but they're just not those kind of guys. So I think Tua, and Chan would call plays, and there would be one deep route, but Tua wasn't going to look there because what are the chances of him getting open in time? And I think now he'll be more comfortable and think, okay, now there's a legitimate chance that Waddle's open, Fuller's open, Wilson's open. So I think it plays into his style more. Gotze and Stutesville have, I don't think they showed their cards too much in the preseason. And I prefer it that way. But I think this system is tailored to him more than last year. I think it was tailored more to Fitzpatrick last year. And that obviously created a whole narrative of, Fitzpatrick, he looks better with the same guys. Okay, well, the play calls were different. So we can be honest about it.
So Miami's wideouts, right? We've discussed it a lot. Which wideout do you think will lead the Dolphins in receiving yards this year, and which wideout do you think will lead the team in total touchdowns scored?
That's tough. I would probably lean Albert, even though he had a year off. I think if he's the same athlete, he possesses, yards after catch, that kind of ability, and he could turn it upfield and make something. He can make magic out of nothing. I want to jump the gun and say Waddle.
I know, that's what everybody.
So I got to see him in a real, NFL game. The flashes that I got in preseason were encouraging. I like what I saw from him. But I would say Albert for sure, and then maybe I would lean towards Devontae in goal line situations. He's hopefully his hands improve, but he's a guy that is definitely an asset in that kind of situation.
And, we've also said it on different shows before. In Miami's running back room, there's not that sexy guy. We don't have that Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey-like running back. But really, what does Myles Gaskin bring to the table? Because it's obvious if the Dolphins have a strong passing game, they're going to have a strong running game because teams are going to, pick up on Tua's passing game so well that the Dolphins, there's no way that in the National Football League, you can't be one-dimensional. So what do the Dolphins have to do running-wise to really, step over that maybe 11-12 win reach this year? That really, I think the Dolphins, there's no reason why this team can't win 11-12 games, especially with that 18th game added in. I don't see how the Dolphins really can't get to that. But to get to that, they're going to have a consistent running game. So what do you see out of Myles Gaskin, Salvon Ahmed? I mean, we talked about it, but really go in depth as to what Gaskin, Salvon Ahmed, and even really a veteran like Malcolm Brown.
Yeah, what I see, from the first guy up in Gaskin, in preseason, it felt like his vision was improved. I think he was seeing the hole better. I think last year he had a little bit of happy feet. So it would be right in front of him and he was a little, indecisive. I think this year he's seeing it and he's taking it and he's going. So that's encouraging. As far as Ahmed, he's an explosive guy, not the biggest running back in the world. So to be quite honest with you, as far as, picking up blitzes and stuff like that, I'm not at an utmost confident level with those two. But as far as running the football, they know what they're doing. They have God-given ability. They can make guys miss, and they can be explosive. And then Malcolm Brown, he's your third down guy. He's a big dude. Comes from, I think we got him from the Rams, right? So
I believe so.
He could definitely, on a 3rd and 2, he could run it right up the middle and get it for you. So I think he's going to be valuable as well.
Malcolm Brown's going to be like that Jordan Howard-like back, right? A guy who wasn't right. He didn't really see the field much, but when the Dolphins had like just like you said, 3rd and manageable, Jordan Howard was that guy. I want to say he had about 6 or 7 touchdown scores, but they all came from goal line situations. So that's what Malcolm Brown's going to bring. And then really final question before we start wrapping up tonight's show. Miami schedule, right? I mean, New England, you got home versus Buffalo. Then week 3, you got the Las Vegas Raiders. And now week 4 at home versus the Indianapolis Colts. The Dolphins are likely to see Carson Wentz. So we see a lot of these quarterbacks that Miami's going to see. They're going to see Tom Brady. They're going to see Lamar Jackson. As long as these other quarterbacks around the league do stay healthy, how many wins do you think this team can get this year? Because we saw last year to finish 10-6 with the circumstances that were going on really around life in general, not just the COVID protocols around the NFL, really around life, to win 10 games and be only a game out to clinch a playoff spot last season. Do you think Miami takes that next step forward? I mean, because Brian Flores, in my opinion, is one hell of a coach.
I would agree with you. I see Brian Flores as at least a top 10 coach in this league. And he's on the move. He's on the move upwards. So I see Miami, at least getting 10 games. I would venture to say 11 or 12. They're gonna have to have some things go their way, but this team is equipped to go and make some noise in the playoffs. What wins championships? Defense, right? Right. So I think that's where they started when this whole rebuild started. We're gonna build this defense from top to bottom, and then we're gonna bring in everyone we can on offense. And that started with Tua, and now we're getting more weapons to do so. And hopefully we can match the production that we get on defense, of course, and capitalize on it on offense. I think that's the biggest thing with this team. The defense made plays last year, but the offense was off the field so much that the defense was getting fatigued and not being able to do the things that they did in the first and second quarter, in the third and fourth quarter. So if Miami can capitalize, score, take pressure off their defense, this team can get to 11 or 12 wins. I'm very comfortable saying that.
So since this is your first show, you just got on to PhinManiacs, kind of just tell people, your goals and what you will be contributing for the site. And, really just, we got to get you to 1,000 followers, right? I mean, we got to get you to 100 first.
And then get that up. Yeah, we got to get that up. For PhinManiacs, I'll be writing stories covering the Dolphins and possibly venturing into other things within the NFL. I'm here to write as much as possible. I want to get my name out there and just get my foot in the door. And I'm really excited to be with this group. This is a real cool group.
Well, I'm definitely glad you came on. And, Matthew, as always, thank you very much. This is really going to be a weekly Thursday show, so we really got to put on our hats together. And I'm really looking forward to it. So for Brandon Liguori, Matthew Morin, thank you guys. Enjoy tonight's game, the Cowboys, the Bucks, and 3 days later we have our Miami Dolphins traveling to Gillette Stadium to take on the New England Patriots. And as always, guys, fins up, and thank you very much.